there, welcome back. Today I'm going to look at Dark City, which is the Alex Proyas film from the 90s, late 90s. The film that came out before The Matrix. Everyone said, oh, you know, secretly, that's better than The Matrix. It's not. It's enjoyable, but it does have an ending that's fairly sucky. Which gets in the way of all the good stuff. Because with this is the director's cut in this one, the 4K disc. Inside it, I actually have my Blu-ray of this one's got both cuts, the theatrical and director's cut, and some other extras they don't have in this one. I wasn't buying the big box set from Arrow with all the cuts in it, because I'm only ever going to watch the director's cut anyway. I'm not going to watch the theatrical cut again, because the theatrical cut sucks. I watched it when it came out, it sucks. It put me off completely. It tells you everything that happened in the film, and it's terrible. So I'm basically talking about the director's cut over the theatrical cut, which is a much better film, but still has some problems. So basically, the theatrical cut told you the ending early on, so you had no suspense. That was a massive issue, obviously, for a film that's relying on mystery. So, and the film was Proyas' film after The Crow was a big hit, but it was after the Brandon Lee died. So after that film, Proyas finished the film off, and then he disappeared for a little bit, and then he came back with this film. So people want him because of what he did with The Crow, and this was the film he made with the kind of goodwill towards him for that. So he made a film that was much more, it had the atmosphere of The Crow in some degree, and the kind of retro feel of The Crow, but was much more like based on ideas. And it has some good ideas in it. So the idea was a guy wakes up in a bath with no memory of what he is, but everyone thinks he's a serial killer. And he's trying to figure things out. He's found stuff in the floor, including this syringe with glass that's smashed. So he goes on the run trying to find out who he is, find his name, find out what he is, find out clues to what he's about. Meanwhile, William Hurt plays a detective who's trying to figure out a mystery. His partner has gone insane, and he's trying to work out the mystery of who was the killer. And he basically goes to the ex-wife of the suspect. The suspect is played by Rufus Sewell, and his ex-wife is played by Jennifer Connelly, who's still very young in this film. She's like the young ingenue who doesn't quite get it. She's a singer, and I think Lem Dobbs was one of the writers wanted this character to be more of a femme fatale feel, and Connelly was much more younger than that, so he was critical of her performance. But it's fine because when she's meant to play the innocent more than the femme fatale, so it works well for what the film is. And so Hurt and her end up seeing a lot of screen time as they try to work at the mystery. Well, Sewell's trying to work at the mystery on his own, and he's finding clues to who he was, and he's going back to meet different people who he knew, and he finds himself attacked by these weird creatures, and he's trying to work out what this is about. And he finds his uncle who has all these pictures of him when he's a young man, and there's a beach nearby, because the city's always in darkness. There's a beach nearby, and he's trying to figure out how to get to it. Now, every 12 hours you find out, fairly early on, the city changes. The city changes, it moves, the buildings move, they become slightly different. Some people's memories change, some people's memories stay the same. So obviously there's some fuckery going on. And Sewell's trying to work out what it is and why it is, and eventually things start to become clear. You have Richard O'Brien as a kind of creepy character who's following Sewell and gets his memories put into him intentionally so he can track Sewell down easier. And you've just got lots of different characters. You've got the mad detective who realises they're in a spiral of nothing making sense and there's no escape from it. And slowly but surely the film starts to come together what's going on. Kiefer Sutherland plays this mad scientist, very much based on a kind of expressionist German scientists, and he's having fun playing this weird character. And then he was at a performance that he killed for, because it was like, this film was so weird, no one quite got it. And slowly but surely, we get what's going on. Is like these creatures are trying to find out what makes human beings tick. So they're changing the memories of them to try and find out more about them. And it turns out that they're basically the alien creatures are inhabiting the dead of human beings who have died. They inhabit those dead bodies the bodies can do lots of weird things. So there's elements of phantasm there. Now, the good thing about the film is the atmosphere and the mystery. The bad thing is the explanations. Because in The Matrix, when you get the explanations, it makes sense. It's like, oh, this is what they're doing here, this is what they're doing here, this is what Neo's powers are, this is what they're based on. And slowly they reveal things about the characters in these films. But they always have an idea of, this is too far, this is not too far. And they've always carefully adding stuff. Even in the sequels, they're adding stuff carefully. Some people don't like these sequels, but I did. But in this film, it goes from being like this mystery of him and basically a lab rat trying to work stuff out, to him suddenly having weird psychic powers that he can use against the creatures, and it suddenly becomes like very much like the Matrix, in the sense of, oh, your hero now has some weird powers and can fight against the bad guys that way. But it loses its way with being allowed to go over the top, and you've got lots of these weird like effects that it makes it look very pulpy, which is fun if you like pulp like me, but it takes you out of the reality of what they're trying to suggest in other parts of the film, and the ideas in other parts of the film. And by the time you get into the final third, there's some wonderful visuals, but the narrative's starting to fall to bits, because it's like you're ultimately trying to work. You don't get an explanation of why was this city. It turns out it's a city that's floating through space, and it can do lots of things. And it's like, why was this city built? Ultimately, if these creatures are trying to find out humanity, why do they want to find out about humanity? Why is it so important to them? You never really get that. There's vague explanations. Why does Soul suddenly be able to do all these weird psychic things that bend reality in a way that's not obeying physics at all? And why does that work? And there's some images later on which are meant to be inspiring sci-fi things, but I can go along with a lot of stuff, but this stuff didn't make sense for how they'd set it up. And there's this thing as the film goes on of this, you haven't really built this properly. There's things here that don't work, which is why I think The Matrix is a better film. This one has great visuals, but ultimately some of the time it's just cheating, like blatantly cheating, and I found that to be kind of annoying, because it's doing so much good stuff early on, doing a lot of the building up of like, what's a reality for you if your memories are getting changed all the time, and if your relationships with people are based on memories that are false. So Soul and his wife turned out they were never married, they didn't know each other, they just put these memories into them to say they were married, and she had an affair, and turns out no, she didn't. That's really cool. And there's things at the end where she loses her memories, he remembers her but she can't remember him. All that stuff works nicely, and it's frustrating because the film does a lot of stuff like that nicely. The alien creatures look interesting because they're very expressionistic, and there's lots of stuff there that is going on that's wonderful, but the explanations for things in between that just are really threadbare. And it just keeps like, oh, my good time here, oh, my good time here, oh. It's that kind of thing throughout the film. It's like it's not quite doing the job for explanation of why things are happening. There's just like, it's either they've cut stuff out that made sense of it, or they never quite worked out what they want to do with it, or they should have kept it mysterious, which I think is probably been a better way. If they kept certain things mysterious and never explained them, probably would work better, because that's what David Lynch found out. Don't explain certain things. That's it. But I think because this is for a bigger budget film, a mainstream audience, they wanted these explanations. And when you give them the explanations just sound this silly. so that puts the audience off. And they tested this film and people don't understand it, so that's why they put the explanation at the beginning of what was going on, which meant the film was now boring to anybody watching it, and is basically dumped in the marketplace at that point. And it came out just after Titanic, and it just died a death because it was the anti-Titanic. It was trying to be intellectual, it was trying to be mysterious. Well, Titanic was an emotional thing. Well, that was the big thing: is emotions of the ship, emotions of the world, emotions of the characters. This was like at a distance, and you're watching it going, these weird creatures did all of this. How did they manage to build all this stuff, and how did it all work? It's obviously the idea is they can create matter, they can change matter in certain ways through some psychic energy that Soul has figured out how to do somehow. But it doesn't explain certain things they're doing with the city later on that is like, that's a step too far, because this guy forgets about this at any point, it's all going to collapse. Oops. So it's like there's this massive plot holes in it that's like, you should have done something that was a bit more, sane. So that's the film. It's very frustrating at times, but it's also very enjoyable at times. There's lovely moments throughout it. The atmosphere is terrific. First 2/3 I really enjoyed, but that last third just was like, it was getting more and more annoying because it was like, that doesn't make sense. And you should have written it to make some sort of sense. I mean, it's the same thing that happened with I, Robot later, where Proyas did Will Smith vehicle that had fun stuff throughout, but also had a couple of moments you're thinking, what? And it's like, just that's just the way it goes. It's still worth watching. It's still really worth watching for the first 2/3. And then even the final third, it's not painful, it's like, this could have been better, this could have worked better. But there you go. So I hope you enjoyed this video. That's me for now. Bye.